All right, thanks so much, Katie. And thank you all for being here. It's great to see such a wonderful turnout for
Yes,
Letty,
yes,
right?
yes, yes.
Um, I'm just going to dive in and share my screen, and we'll get started with the program.
Great.
Great. Okay, so our program today, Finding Letty Esherick, A Journey Through the WEM Archives. The program is in conjunction with the exhibition, Working at a Joyous Creative Thing, Weaving, Making, and Material Culture in Letty Esherick's Legacy, which is on view at the Wharton Esherick Museum through December 28th. The exhibition is the work of WEM artist in residence Kelly Cobb and her collaborators, and it features textiles by Letty Esherick alongside contemporary textile works by Kelly and her collaborators. Let's see, and advance. There we go. Um, Kelly's primary materials were a trove of textiles that were stuffed into two suitcases that came to the museum through a family bequest from the Esherick family. And these came to us in 2021. And Kelly has really been the first person to do sustained research on this work, on these materials. And we can see I'm showing just a mannequin with some of these handmade clothing, a little halter top and these kind of palazzo pants, hand woven fabric decorated. And, even something so simple as putting these things on a mannequin, getting the wrinkles out of them, just going a long ways towards seeing and appreciating, who Letty Esherick was as a maker. And this project was really it just kind of by a really happy
Hmm.
coincidence was happening at the same time as Cynthia, our longtime volunteer, had become interested in doing research in the WEM archives and was, I think, as many people have been, drawn toward Letty's story and started going through
Yeah.
our archives on Letty.
Yep.
And so I'm so glad, Cynthia, that you are willing to share your work in progress
Yeah.
as it is going on. Um, so there is, a tremendous backstory to these textiles, to which Kelly, I think, has made a nod through the title that she's given to the exhibition, Working at a Joyous Creative Thing, which is actually an excerpt from a letter that Letty wrote to her husband Wharton in 1947. And I'll just read the full quote. She says, just now, I want a chance to do what you have been doing all your life, working at a joyous creative thing, which I hope will pave the way for my being self-supporting. This may be too late for me, but I still want to try.
Hmm.
So with this program, Cynthia and I will endeavor to flesh out some of this backstory behind these words and take some steps towards recovering Letty's
Letty.
legacy. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
All right, so let's get into it. Okay, so when we're talking, Cynthia, when we're talking about your archival research on Letty Esherick, what are the artifacts that you're looking through?
Yep.
Like, what are these physical things?
Right. Well, one of the things that we found, you see here, the box, was a bunch of letters, postcards and letters that Letty wrote to various people. So I went through all of that. And then we had things like, you see here, the letterhead for the Nofer and Son, that Wharton actually did that. That is Letty's father that owned that business.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have pictures, and you see this picture of Letty, and I think that's a fantastic picture. She was about 18 or 19 years old when that picture was
Mm-hmm.
taken, and you can see a young woman who's in the outdoors, playing in the water, lifting her skirt up, laughing. I mean, it just gives you an indication
Mm-hmm.
of who she was
Mm-hmm.
at about that age. I also formed some impressions about Wharton and Letty from a diary that Wharton wrote in about 1912 or so when they went on a honeymoon. And we'll take a look at that in just a moment. The diary has some great drawings in it that I hope
Yeah.
you'll like as well, which we're going to show you. I read a transcript from an oral history that we
Mm,
have,
mm.
and I reviewed some of the website information that we have. But I have to be honest, the work is just beginning.
Yeah,
So we're going to take you from about 1912 to the late 40s in
yeah.
what we've found.
Yeah. So you mentioned to me, that there were kind of scant details on
Hmm.
Letty's early life. Um, but just to kind of do justice to the fact that her life began before her marriage to
Yes,
Wharton Esherick,
yes.
is there a little bit of a summary you can give of kind of how she grew up, where she grew up, what kind of family?
I can't really give you that. What I did find was I found an obituary which
Mm,
listed the fact that she was born in 1892,
mm, mm,
that she was born in Philadelphia County, that she was the daughter of this Reading Terminal meat merchant.
mm,
It also listed the fact that she had a surviving brother and sister when she passed away.
mm,
And then there's a listing of some of her father, her mother, that sort of thing, which I
mm.
plan to go into and find more out about.
Yeah.
But really, the only kind of clue I had at this point about her early life is that
That
diary.
diary.
Okay.
Do you want to go on to the
Yeah, we'll go on
diary?
to the
All right, let's
diary.
look at the honeymoon diary. So, what is this fantastic object?
This is amazing. Okay. In about 1912, the two young people decided to go on a sailing honeymoon. Okay. And so Wharton wrote the diary, did the drawings and so forth, and Letty made the cover for it. So that's
Hmm.
kind of an indication of the partnership that they had at this
Hmm.
point. And so if we take another look at the
Do you
diary,
want to go
I want to show
closer?
you the picture.
Okay, okay, there we go. And
Okay,
zoom in.
so what you see here, if you zoom in on that picture in the, what is that, the left-hand corner, I guess, the
Yeah.
right-hand corner, you
Mm.
see the two of them working together to do some crabbing.
Yeah.
And I mean, they did some awesome things on this honeymoon, and they did it together. They laughed together, they
Mm.
planned together. They were a true partnership at this
Mm.
time. Um,
Mm.
so that's going to lead them to another adventure,
Mm.
right? Which is
The farmhouse.
the friends.
Do we want to talk about the diary a little bit more?
Okay, the diary it goes through several phases of what they're doing, how they're overcoming. At one point, a storm hit, rough
Mm.
seas hit,
Mm.
and everything is thrown off the boat.
Oh my gosh.
Everything is thrown off the boat. They didn't know what the heck do we do with this? But they did. They worked together to bring it back together. And it was
Yeah.
at that point, though, that Wharton particularly decided that's the end of the honeymoon. We're
Yeah.
going to go on to our
Right.
next adventure.
And you had talked about them as being very idealistic
Yes.
in all of this,
Yeah.
right? There was
Right.
a kind of idealism and we can do it kind of.
Well, kind of from looking at the pictures and the pictures of Letty and of Wharton, you can see that although they came from fairly well-to-do families, they're
Mm,
going to try something different. I mean,
mm,
they're going to want to go out and find a different life. Eventually, they're going to leave Philadelphia, right, and
mm,
move out to Paoli, where
mhm.
they're going to find this farmhouse and they're going to live that authentic sort of natural life. They were
Yeah.
both
Mm,
progressives,
mm,
and Wharton had been exposed to this when he was working over
mm,
in New
mm,
Jersey.
mm,
But they're both progressives in their
mm,
thinking.
mm, mm,
Letty she's going to become very involved with organic education, did not like the public school system, didn't want to deal with the public school system. So organic
mm,
education, training people to do things by doing,
mm.
and all that kind of thing.
Go to the farmhouse.
To the farmhouse.
All right.
So,
So the next chapter, the home they built together.
right,
We want to talk a little bit about that.
right. So they decide to go out. They're looking around. They've been living in West Philadelphia. They're looking around for some place. They know that they have to leave Philadelphia in order to live this lifestyle that they want to leave. And they end up buying a place in Paoli. Aren't we
Mm,
lucky?
yeah.
They bought a place in Paoli. Now,
Yeah.
what's interesting about this farmhouse is it has no electricity, it has no heat, but it's got plenty of farmland. So
Mm,
that they knew that they'd be able maybe to grow some food. Now, they didn't know how to grow food,
mm,
but they knew that they would be able to grow some food. So life is going to start out on a real high note. They're really excited.
Hmm.
Wharton has a place to paint. Letty's going to put her belief in education to work, progressive education, by teaching children how to learn by doing in that barn. You see the barn in the background there?
Yeah, I'll just do a little kind of topography. That's
Okay.
the big photo is the Sunnycrest farmhouse.
Hmm.
The small sort of inset photo, we see a barn that was right next to it that was for horses
Hmm.
initially. And then it became an early studio for Wharton. And then on that gigantic swing that is in the photo, we see two of the three Esherick children. Mary's
Yep.
the elder. Ruth is the smaller child, looking very much like the Ruth plate that's up above us. And then Peter evidently hadn't been born yet. But I'll also mention there is that bare sort of hillside. If we kind of go off to the edge of the photo, that's where Wharton will, in 1926, walk up the
Right.
hill and build the studio, that the building that we are in right now.
When they move into this property, Wharton has a small inheritance from his grandmother, and Letty is going to harvest the food and can it. And she actually had a canning business for a short
Hmm.
period. She also
Hmm.
has a peony business for a short period
Hmm.
here.
Hmm.
They're thinking that they want to have five children at this point. They want five children. But that's not to be. Three of the children survived
Hmm.
childhood. Two of them died pretty early on, within 3 years.
Hmm.
Letty's got three children, two of whom pass away, died.
Hmm.
That
Hmm.
has a tremendous effect on Letty. That
Hmm.
was really, really hard. But they persevere. She's still going to stay in the house. And I think
Hmm.
you've got a quote from Fort.
Yeah, yeah. So this is a good point for that. So while I was kind of working on this program with Cynthia, it kind of brought me back to a quote I'd read a while back by the English writer Ford Madox Ford, who visited here in 1934, came to visit Wharton Esherick and to write about his craftsman lifestyle. Um, and he is writing from the vantage of he's up the hill in the Wharton Esherick studio, and he's going to go down to the farmhouse, and they're going to have dinner. So he writes, in a very few minutes, we are going to go down the hill through the dark wood and in a candlelit room in which every piece of furniture, every dish, every platter, every implement, did I mention everything?
Yeah.
Every piece of textile ware, every article of clothing has been made by hand. We are going to eat a meal in which every constituent, except the pepper, has come straight out of the garden, the hen house, or the
Right.
dairy.
Right.
And I felt like, looking at this all from the Letty perspective, I think she's not quite getting her due in this, right? It's
No.
talking about her work, but not acknowledging her labor. But I think it's also interesting to hear about the textiles because we don't here physically have much from
Right.
that era of her
Right.
life of the 30s, but we know that she
Right.
was making textiles for the home at that time.
And that's going to come back in a couple slides.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
So I think you get a picture from that quote that this was a place where they were gathering friends, they were living this artistic life, they're making art part of their life.
Hmm.
This whole thing, they've got these kids, she's having kids in the home. It's just this great, simple, artistic family and friend oriented life.
Yeah, but they run up against some real
Oh, they
obstacles,
do.
things they
Letty,
probably just didn't ever think could happen when they
right,
were on that honeymoon
right,
boat.
right,
Yeah.
nothing. Yeah, well,
Um,
so life is going to hit them pretty hard.
mm,
And so Letty had been caring for a woman named Ruth Reeves, who was a weaver at
Ruth
the
Reeves'
time.
child.
But she's caring for Ruth Reeves' child.
Yeah.
And she writes a letter to Letty
Mm,
in about 1926 that I thought had some interesting notes in it. She writes, in the last analysis, I haven't that religious conviction about my work, which allows one the divine liberty of sinking everything to that one end. You see, Let, I don't believe that the world would disintegrate aesthetically if I didn't do hand-decorated fabrics. They are simply a means of earning a pleasanter living. This letter helped me understand that Letty was struggling. She was truly struggling with her ability to make a living to help support this effort financially. Okay. And so in 1928, Letty wrote a couple draft letters that laid out her struggles pretty clearly.
Mm,
In one of those letters, she says, "Something is terribly wrong with me, and maybe when I get back to work again, it will clear up." She goes on to say, "Surely other women have run a business and made a living, and nothing but loss comes of anything I touch." Letty appears to me, well, she appeared to me to be coming to terms with the difficulty of the life that
mm,
she and Wharton had selected.
mm,
She says again, "What I want to decide is about our scale of living.
mm,
It seems much too high for our income.
mm,
I can't seem to figure out where to cut things out.
mm,
Better to rent, get a job? That's out of the
mm,
question, for there's no profession which would
mm,
pay me enough to go away from home and have someone here in my
mm,
place.
mm.
That's tough.
That's,
That's
yeah.
tough." But
Mm,
she won't give up. She
yeah.
will not give up.
Yeah.
Warden and Letty do separate in 1938, which was quite another crucial element for both of them, for both of them. So,
Yeah, and I should also mention that during that protracted separation, Letty was really critically ill with
oh,
encephalitis. So she had
right,
collapsed and had a
right.
very long, slow recovery. So
Yeah,
that kind of period from 1928 to, the mid
right.
30s was a really,
Tough,
a really
tough, tough.
a tough transition. I think another thing Maddox Ford left out of his book, that these people were really struggling when he was there. Um, let's see. Should we go
Go to
on?
Penn.
Go to Penland? Let's go
Right.
to
Let's go to
Penland.
Penn. Now, this is important because what Letty is going to do over the 40s and 50s is what I found over the 40s and 50s, late 30s, 40s, 50s. She's going to be traveling around a lot. I
Yeah.
mean, a lot.
Hmm.
She initially goes down to live at the Hedgerow Theater,
Right, which is
right?
this little small repertory theater in Rose Valley. The whole Esherick
Right,
family was very involved
right,
with, and it had a residential building. And I think Letty was not acting or working in the theater, but she was doing more of like keeping together the community. She had
right,
done some gardening, managing,
right,
kind of managing the community and helping out with
right.
those
I
things.
can imagine she's also working with the children because she had a real vibe with children.
Yeah.
And so that's one of the things she's going to continue to pursue.
Mm,
So in the 1940s or so, she's moving around a lot. She seems to want to find a place where she can pursue her art while also earning a living with it. Okay. She begins a scholarship at this place, Penland School of Craft in Penland, North Carolina. And we see the map here. Penland was actually founded in the 1920s to teach craft to local women in North Carolina, and they would be able to take that craft and use it at home to make a living. Okay, so she's going to go to this place. She's going to learn how you can teach
mm,
women
mm,
to weave and make a living from it. Okay, so she wrote at the time when she was at Penland. She's writing to Wharton. She writes quite often
mm,
to Wharton. They
mm,
stay
mm,
connected. So she writes to him. Lucy decided to move the looms from the craft house to the Pines. So I had quite a bit of my weaving material to
mm,
carry.
mm.
Must have been heavy.
Yeah.
Still straightening out the warp, but
Mm,
have started to roll it on. Being tangled, it will have to go slow, as it will have to be brushed out all 27 yards of this thing. I have been working on other things while waiting for
mm,
the loom to get emptied and have been working in the metal shop, which I like very, very
mm,
much. So she's working at this, or she's on a scholarship at this place. And I mean, that sounds tough to me to be moving around those kinds of materials.
yeah.
She sent the map to Wharton because she truly loved living there. She loved the South
Mm,
and loved
mm,
living in Penland.
yeah.
I love it here and am trying to figure out how I can meet it. I may have to sell my stock, but I am waiting for a little longer. There are no scholarships this year. There are more teachers to pay. Okay, so she's
Mm,
not making any money here.
yeah.
Sometime in
Mm,
June 1948, she's asked to vacate her apartment at Penland. And she writes to Wharton, I am still weaving, but it goes slower than I want. So I
Mm.
don't suppose I'll be able to make a living at it.
Mm.
I will let you know as soon as I know what turns up. Until you hear from me, I am at Penland.
Mm. Yes.
We don't move to.
And before we move on to her next
Mhm.
location, I'll just mention the table runner that I'm showing here.
Good.
This is one of those pieces from that bequest. These were things that were saved in a suitcase as really family mementos. We have no information on when it was made, where it was made. I feel like having looked
Right.
at them, I can recognize Letty's color sensibility, but it's just one of those kind of puzzle pieces in looking at the legacy of someone, whose work is preserved here, but who is not was
Right.
has not been the main
Right.
focus, as is true with the history of so many women artists and makers. All right, Crossnore, our
Crossnore.
next stop,
Okay.
also in North Carolina.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, Crossnore, this place was founded in about 1913 to provide a safe, stable home and education for poor and troubled children. So we're seeing a pattern here, I think, of where she's going, what she's pursuing to try to move her
Mm.
craft along.
Mm.
Um, and this quote here gives you an idea of the kind of work they were doing there with these children. So there are about 200 children, and 45 teachers. I mean, it's an
And
amazing
600
place.
are going to be brought in by
By
bus from
bus
all
from all
over the
over.
country.
Oh,
But then
amazing.
she's also doing orders at the same
Right,
time.
right.
So,
So she's
yeah.
doing these rugs. So this
Mm.
was one of the commissions that she went after for these bedspreads and large and small rugs. This is just about the only way a
Mm.
woman can make a living
Yeah.
from weaving at the time.
Yeah.
At the same time, she makes a 70-yard warp, okay, the largest she had ever made. So she's really pushing herself to learn to do other things. She made this warp to make some skirts. Some skirts. Remember, she had made the clothing for the children and other people when she was down at Sunnycrest,
Mm.
right? So she's bringing her art to these women through things like
Mm.
skirts.
Mm.
She's also quite pleased because Crossnore is going to allow her some like flexibility in the design and colors of this stuff. She is so thrilled by this project. And so she's loving this at Crossner. She's living in a two-room apartment.
Mm.
One room has a loom.
Mm.
Can you imagine?
Mm.
So she's really in her element here.
Mm.
But she can't stay
She
here.
can't stay. Yeah, so the textile I'm showing here is another of Letty's textiles from that trove. It appears to be a kind of a series of samples woven onto a single piece of cloth. They are all
hmm
numbered.
hmm
These are the kind of patterns used in coverlets. These kind of black and white, kind of very opty looking. I should say dark and light, not black and white, because she's using all the colors. But these kind of opty patterns. That Crossnore was known for. So while we don't know that she made this at Crossnore, it's typical of some of
Typical.
the work that would have
Yeah.
been the historical patterns that she would have been learning there. Great.
Okay. So then we get, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to pronounce this, but we get into in about 1948, where you see it there. In 1948, she goes to Camp Yanalossi. How was that?
That's
Yanalossi.
in Blowing Rock, North
Yeah,
Carolina.
in Blowing Rock, North Carolina, and it's a summer camp
Mhm.
for young women. So we think that she worked here teaching weaving for a short time during the summer. It is a summer camp, okay? So once again, she is bringing that weaving, her sense of art, her sense of design to these young women at this camp. It wasn't easy here though, okay? She wrote to Wharton, I leave here Friday and go to Paul's for a few days and weeks. I still have several things in the air, so don't yet know what I'm going to be doing. Wonderful summer. The earlier looms were quite poor, that I was fixing them all the time. This would be a good camp for the Bach children if they go to camp. Most children here have money,
Mhm.
horses, and their own private baths.
Yeah. So
Okay,
the Box being major
right.
patrons of Wharton Esherick and quite
Correct.
wealthy. And it sounds like Letty got to use some really great weaving equipment while she
Right.
was at this camp.
After she fixed it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So again, this is just a summer effort, and you see another piece of Letty's work here.
Yeah.
Maybe talk about that a little.
Again, something we have very little documentation of. This just seems to be a piece of fabric. It's not really a
Yeah.
runner. It's not an object, a designed object. It is a piece of decorated fabric that just is folded up and put in the suitcase.
But after reading all this stuff, I can visualize that some of that border work maybe was going into the
Yeah, the skirts and the
skirts, and you
yeah,
saw it in the piece that we have from the
yeah, yeah.
work. So she's going to find a way to use it.
Yeah, and it's really beautiful. You see
Yeah.
the black threads intersecting with the blue threads that I'm not
Yeah.
sure if that's coming across on everyone's screens, but it really kind of gives it this very beautiful deep glow that these
Yeah.
kinds of decorations seem to pop out. They look to
Right.
me like, almost like car lights at night or something. It's really
She's
quite,
not
quite
afraid to use bright colors, which I
no.
love.
No.
So, but it is a summer job, so she's not going to be able to stay here. And she is going to move on to another place.
Um,
She wrote to Wharton in September of this year. I'm expecting to have a job at Letchworth Village, teaching weaving. Now, she had visited Letchworth and was impressed with the quality of the handiwork that was being produced at this place. Okay. Letchworth Village was founded in 1911 to again provide a living and training facilities for children, able-bodied adults, and the infirm. So it's a place where she can bring that art to someone who may not have thought they could ever use it or make something of it. Okay. So she starts working there in the fall of 1948. This Letchworth is located up in upstate New
Laughlin
York.
County, right?
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
New York.
Feels okay.
Yeah. But by that fall, Letchworth is already starting to deteriorate. It becomes quite notorious. It's
Overcrowded.
overcrowded. The children are underfed. The equipment is not kept up.
Yeah.
The buildings are not kept up.
Yeah.
So she's not going to stay there forever, although she does hang in there for a couple of years. I was
Yeah.
amazed. In a letter on October 2nd, she writes to Wharton, I have enough work to keep me tied for 2 to 3 weeks, rewarping in 3 looms left by the other girl. And
Mm,
it's a job chaining off 80 yards and
mm,
rewinding it.
mm,
There are 9 groups on each loom and 36 threads in each section, and they are all in a mess. There are
mm,
3 looms to do. It's exhausting, demanding work for her.
mm.
But you know what? She keeps going. I'll tell you, this woman, it's amazing. She just keeps going. And that leads us to this wonderful quote. I can't see it.
Oh, here, I have it here.
Yeah.
Um,
Sorry, can't see it all.
um,
Oh, I
right,
have.
going back to just now, I want a chance to do what you've been doing all your life, working at a joyous creative thing, which I hope will pave the way for my being self-supporting. This may be too late for me, but I still want to try. And boy, there's a lot of grit
Oh
behind
man,
that,
she was amazing,
Yeah,
amazing, amazing. You can see it in her face.
yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's just awesome.
And she is actually in that photo. It's a little hard to see in the black and white, but she is wearing one of her handmade a vest that she made for herself and actually wove the fabric and which is also on view
Uh,
in the exhibition.
yeah, yeah,
Um,
amazing.
yeah. Are we ready
So,
to circle back around to the
yeah, I think
exhibition?
so. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Right. So I'm going to conclude this portion of the program by mentioning that, working at a joyous creative thing, the exhibition is up at the Wharton Esherick Museum through December 28th. So it's closing soon. However, artist in residence Kelly Cobb's work at the Wharton Esherick Museum continues into 2026. In the spring, around the time that the peonies are popping up here, we will have our peony pop-up, which is going to feature work by Kelly and one of her collaborators on the exhibition, a designer named Abby Lutz. And they are going to use custom loomed fabric made at family heirloom weavers in Red Lion, Pennsylvania.
Mhm.
And this fabric replicates, and you can kind of see some of it on the screen in that gray and white
Mhm.
garment. It replicates the honeysuckle rose pattern that was a favorite of Letty's and that we find a lot in her work and something that Kelly was able to bring to everyone's attention. So the peony pop-up will be a chance to see how a contemporary maker is adapting these historical patterns. There will be things for sale. I'm not quite sure what, perhaps homewares, but things involving that kind of fabric. And so anyways, it's in the works. Stay tuned. And also mentioned in the photo that we're seeing here is Patrick Klein from Family Heirloom Weavers and Abby and Kelly. Um, in that factory. So I am going to. Would
And
you?
we should
Yeah,
also mention that this research has just begun.
just
I
begun.
only got to the
Yeah,
40s. I can't wait to
yeah,
see what else is there.
mm-hmm.
Maybe we'll find some explanation of why she did what she did.
Yeah,
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 that might be
yeah.
good. Yeah.
So what's next?
What's next?
Yeah,
Well, January and February is a great time to do
yeah,
research because I
yeah.
don't have any tours
Right,
scheduled.
the museum's closed for
So I'll
tours.
be
Yeah.
here reading. I'll be here reading and
Mm,
working on the rest of the materials for Letty, seeing how we can put that together and what we might do with that.
yeah,
Um, I also would love to hear from anybody that knows anything about
yeah,
Letty,
yeah, yeah,
so we can maybe flesh out this picture a little bit better.
yeah. Right. So I am going to stop sharing the screen here and we can open things up for questions.
That was wonderful, Holly and Cynthia. Thank
Thank
you
you.
so much.
Thank you.
Um, a treat for us all is that we have like an impromptu Letty Nofer family reunion happening in the
Nice.
Oh, I'm so excited.
which is wonderful. Throughout the talk, people have been saying, "Oh, Ferd is my grandfather," and so if you scroll through, you'll see. But I just want to say thank you to all of those relatives for being on this call.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I know I speak for all of us at the museum and Cynthia that we would love to hear any stories you have,
Yes,
and we would love
Yes,
to be
absolutely. We would
we would
love to
love to
hear
be
them.
in touch with you on this call, but
Yes.
also afterwards we can
Yeah.
yeah, we can keep that conversation going because that is really, really a wonderful thing that's come about through this. And
Yeah.
I'll also mention that Kelly Cobb is on the talk, or at least she was earlier. And so if there's questions to loop her in on, we can do that as well. So
Yeah.
I just wanted to announce that as a that's
that is so
what Longtime
exciting.
is all
Yeah,
about over
love
here.
it. Love it. Love it.
If any of you did want to chime in, please feel free. Or if anyone else has questions, you can put them in the chat, or you can just unmute yourself and join the conversation.
I'm reading here in the chat. We have family stories like her using an ironing board as an early surfboard during their summers at Margate.
She loved to swim. I
Yeah.
mean, I saw many references to her
Yeah.
swimming. She'd go to Florida and she'd love to go down there and swim and play. And
Well,
it just, it's
even
such a
that
great
first
image.
photo that you showed
Hmm.
of her in that very, that early kind of very structured clothing, not
Right.
very conducive to outdoor stuff. She's hiking up that skirt and walking in the stream. Yeah.
Oh, there's another one.
Yeah. Names,
This is so
addresses.
great.
Yeah.
I'm so pleased because it's really tough when you want to get to know someone, you want to bring someone out and you want to have the letters, the pictures,
Mm.
but talking to family members, that would just be awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah, because I feel like we have a lot of oral histories in the collection here, but we don't have one for Letty. I think
No, not
so
one
there's
from
a
her family. Yeah.
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 And that's going to be important.
Oh, here I say I lived with
Oh,
Letty at Hedgerow just a few years before she
no.
passed in the 1960s, then became friends with Ruthie and
Ruthie
Bob in
Bob.
DC, severe arthritis. Yeah, I had heard that about her as well as
Yeah,
being
yeah. She apparently broke her hips as well.
mm,
And imagining that she was very involved with the rhythmic dancing and that sort of thing, that must have been a horrible thing for her to have to go
yeah,
through.
yeah,
So she'd have to give that up.
yeah.
But Yeah.
I've seen a lot of photos of her as an older woman walking with a cane.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, for
She didn't give
sure.
up though.
Yeah.
She's an inspiration.
I see someone says, I lived in that residential building at Hedgerow. Um,
I
Mary?
just wanted to share a little story from our uh, childhood. As my sister said, she spent about a week or two staying with us in the summer, visiting
mhm.
when the Bach Festival was performing
Oh
over in
yeah.
Bethlehem. But so there were four little girls running around, and she was ever the seamstress. She looked at our dolls and said, "They don't have underwear. Where's their underwear?" And she made little doll underpants for them.
Oh my gosh.
That's too cute.
So that was a very sweet,
Sweet.
interesting thought, and that was where
Yeah.
she was thinking.
She had a
Yeah.
way with kids. I mean, she really did have a way with children. I mean,
Yeah.
it's wonderful. It's wonderful.
Ah, thank you. Someone says, please pronounce Nofer with the long O. We were worried. We were
Oh,
wondering about that.
yeah.
Yeah, so it's Nofer, not, yeah. Thank you for that. Yeah. Um,
Another one. I could also ask you to pronounce your grandmother's name, Ufacine. Ufacine? Anybody heard that? No? Okay. That was one of the few references I found. Laura Moore no Nofer.
yeah. There was another question about let's see, whether they had anchored at Snug Harbor
Uh-huh.
in Staten Island during their honeymoon. Do you remember that detail,
I
Cynthia?
don't remember that detail. I know that they got up the coast of New Jersey
Then they went up the
that
Hudson
far,
River.
and they went up the Hudson River, but they may have anchored.
Yeah.
There was a place where they anchored where there was a cute story about how the guys at the deck were Wharton must have been complaining about something, and
Yeah.
the guys at the deck said, "Oh, be quiet, you've got this great woman with you."
Okay.
I thought that was pretty good. But
And
yeah.
I just remember that they went to the Metropolitan Museum and for
Hmm.
dinner in Chinatown in New York, which I thought sounded so romantic to just breeze into New
Right.
York on a sailboat like that.
And they had a couple
Yeah.
friends that they met there that they went out. Remember the picture
Yeah.
of them going out and getting the food?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's interesting what these documents can show you. One of the hardest parts about doing the research is that I keep having these impressions and I don't want to read too much into it. I have to be very
Mm.
sensitive to the time frame that all of this
Mhm.
is happening. At this time, women were not given their due in terms of artistic endeavors and that sort of thing. The Depression was on, wars were on, so it
Mm.
was hard to do the kinds of things that Letty wanted to do. And I have to keep that in mind
Mm.
as I'm reading through the materials.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
kind of hard to put myself in that
Yeah.
sort of time frame.
But we're so grateful that you're doing it and giving it this kind of really sensitive look, you know.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you can't help but fall in love with her.
Terry, I think you're muted.
Um, there.
Hi.
I just want to thank you for this. This is really wonderful. I've been sort of, knowing a little bit about uh, Letty and imagining her very much as you have sort of
Great.
enlightened us all about her. I sort of saw her as a very creative person, but also maybe a little more practical than Wharton, and seeing what needs to be done and just doing it. And in doing that, putting her own creative side
Mhm.
to the side a bit. And I'm really enjoyed hearing about what she was doing later on with all the weaving and
Mhm.
I hope that she was able to make a living working at a joyous creative thing. I guess she was
Yeah.
a little
Yeah.
bit.
We're gonna find out.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
She was also very supportive of Wharton and his work, which I
Mhm.
thought was interesting. Even during all these struggles,
Yeah.
she's still supportive of him and what he's doing.
Yeah.
So I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting too. Even after they'd separated,
Yep.
that she was being like I think well, there was one letter where she had she had gotten in touch with him and said, "Hey, I want to see your new workshop." You
Yes.
know, when he built the
Yeah.
Louis Kahn building here, and then
Yep.
and then she wrote back to say how much she really enjoyed seeing it. You know, so
Yeah.
just really that support through and through
Right.
thick and thin.
Yeah. Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Can I just chime in on that? One of the questions in the chat was actually Martha Moskowitz asked what Letty's involvement in the business side of Wharton's work was. And I don't know if that's something you've come across in the letters, Cynthia.
Yeah. Not on a happy note.
Yeah.
She was initially the person who was doing a lot of his bookkeeping and record keeping and that sort of thing. And she did make a mistake and then beat herself up over it. So eventually they brought someone else in to do the work. She just didn't feel qualified to do it. But also, she's trying to maintain a home. She's trying to do her own businesses. So I know that she was particularly in the beginning involved with that sort of thing, but I don't think that lasted too long.
I read that also she was numbering some of Wharton's prints, and I think
could be.
I've seen her handwriting, and I've seen her handwriting on the back of the blocks where
Right.
she's noted where the first kind of prints went,
Right.
who they went to, and how
Right.
many were made. And I think I ran across a comment
Right.
in one of the family oral histories where someone was saying, well, she liked being out in the growing, she liked doing the peonies, being out there growing,
Right.
out
Yep.
there growing
Yep.
stuff out of the earth more than she liked that kind of
Correct.
exacting work.
Yeah. That bored her easily.
Yeah, but we have a ledger book of Wharton's exhibitions and works sold, and there are several phases of handwriting in it, the first
Right.
being Letty's.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Hope that helped.
Yeah. Any other questions or thoughts? Anything in the chat?
There's a great comment from Christine Dreisbeck Murray saying that in her teens, Letty and Marie, her sister, and my grandma would catch fish for dinner at Margate.
Oh,
Yes.
Fix the
Yeah.
cranky boat motor.
nice.
Which is another thing.
Yeah.
We hear that story a lot.
Yeah, we hear that story of her being good with motors circulating
Yeah.
around. Yeah.
I mean, she knew how to fix a carburetor,
Yeah.
right? I mean, incredible.
Yeah. Oh, here at Hedgerow, she wore beautiful, voluminous skirts and long, dangling earrings.
Wow.
Jasper Dieter said she would always have a home at Hedgerow. Last year, I met people who lived up the hill from Hedgerow House and said they gave her land for her garden.
Wow.
I grew up on stories of her heavy earrings stretching her earlobes as a sort of warning.
I love long earrings,
Yeah.
so I'm telling you, we connect.
Yeah. Yeah.
Amazing.
Hi.
Hello.
I'd like to suggest I met that woman whose family lived up the hill
Ah,
at a gathering of the Rose Valley Museum down the road from Hedgerow,
yeah.
and I was just thinking they might have some information, might be a source for
Yeah.
information.
Yeah. Yeah, I've met people who grew up around there who heard about Letty, so that might be
Oh,
another
I'd
kind
love
of
to. Yeah, we gotta check that out. We gotta
a
check
good
that out.
direction
Yeah.
to start looking because she lived there first.
We know that Hedgerow was important to her, and Jasper Dieter was important. I mean, he was a friend
Yeah.
of both of them.
Yeah.
Both the
Wow.
daughters were actresses there,
Yes.
Ruth
Yes.
and Mary.
Yeah.
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 And I mean, she even went there one time when she needed her teeth fixed and she needed a place to stay. So she went to the Hedgerow and stayed there and lived there.
Yeah.
But that's because it's a residential kind of place. So it was she's essentially moving around a lot, staying at
Yeah.
people's homes and things like that. So that was a good,
Yeah.
comfortable place for her to be.
And it's interesting that she's living in a lot of these communities.
Yes.
It's not a
Well,
private home. It's from community to community, even like whether it's Letchworth Village or
Right.
Penland. It's these
Right.
kind of residential settings where you know people, I think, in a different way than if you live in your private home and you get in your car and you drive to work. It's a different,
Right.
it's communal, I guess is the
And-
word I'm looking for.
And they all had the objective to help people who didn't have that opportunity. So I think that's the progressivism
Yeah.
that we saw
Yeah.
early on in her life, and how she wanted to pursue that.
So Letty and Marie were told by their mother, again, what she wanted to serve for lunch every day at Margate. So that's what they went outside to catch. I love all of these comments. This is
They
fabulous.
love being outdoors.
Yeah. Oh, Ethan says, then the record keeping gets messy once Wharton takes over.
Yeah.
It does.
really.
It really does. Yeah. Yeah. All right.
Well, I hope we can connect with those of you that have more of this information
Yeah.
that we can use. Because as I've said, the research has just begun, and I want to have a fuller picture of this magnificent woman
Yeah.
to be able to share with people.
Yeah.
So
And we'll be sending out a follow-up email to
Good.
this program. And I think
Good.
we can devise a way that those who want to connect can connect in that way. So,
Right.
yeah.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
So,
All right.
well, thank you.
I did go ahead and Holly, I shared your email and my email in the
Okay.
chat as well.
Okay. Lovely.
And
Lovely.
I'll
Yeah, I
also
would love
just
to
say,
hear from, yeah.
yeah, and I'll also just say that by all means, if you don't catch that and you just want to respond to the follow-up email, we can put anybody who wants to be connected from different family members and all of that. There was a lot of
That'd be great.
conversation about that in
Fantastic.
the
Yeah.
slide there. I'll just quickly wrap up with just a reminder that the museum is closed to the public for tours in January and February. So if we've inspired you to come visit, just hold your horses. I think our December tours are just about full.
Yeah.
But by the beginning of February, we'll have our spring tours posted and bookable on our
Right.
website. The spotlight talks continue though. So we'll be back next month with another virtual conversation, and we hope some of you will
Thank you.
come and join us again. Cynthia, Holly, thank you again so much. What a wonderful conversation.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. And
Thank you.
thank
It
you
was
all for
fun.
being here.
Fun.
Yeah.